Welcome to Clicks and Coffee. Today we're joined by Amy Young, the Vice President of Business Development at Wagman Construction, a fourth-generation family-owned firm with a legacy spanning 120 years. Amy brings a rare perspective to her role. She spent 21 years in senior living operation as a nursing home administrator before pivoting to construction. And this unique background helps Wagman design senior living communities that truly prioritize resident dignity and operational efficiency. Recognized in 2020 as Woman of Influence by the Central Penn Business Journal, she blends deep industry insights with relationship-driven growth. Let's explore how her senior care roots are transforming construction for aging communities. Amy, welcome.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate you having me.
So that was a pretty impressive background. So now let's dive into that. So can you take us through your career and how that pivoting happened? Because it's talking about working in operation and then all of a sudden pivoting to business development is like clearly complete two different personalities.
Yep, absolutely. And I get that question all the time. How did you make the jump from senior living operations to construction? And it really was by chance. I wasn't looking to make that change. So as you said, I had been a nursing home administrator and executive director for all of my career. My degree is in long-term care administration. I'm a graduate of York College of Pennsylvania. And was very happy with what I was doing, loved working in operations. But it was a conversation that I had with Joe Wagman, who is third generation Wagman family. And during my career as an executive director, we had actually, in the communities I had worked in, had worked with Wagman Construction for some projects. And in the last community where I served as executive director, Joe had actually served on our advisory committee. And he called me up one day and said, "Hey, let's have lunch." I'm like, "Great." And Joe was very instrumental in the work that Wagman Construction did within the senior living market, within aging services. He was really, he was the face of Wagman, in all the senior living conferences, leading HPA, leading Age National. But Joe was thinking about his retirement. And the conversation that we had at lunch that day was, "Hey, I'm thinking forward about my retirement, but I really think if Wagman wants to continue to be the leader in construction within the aging services field, I need someone who understands the industry, who can do function in a business development role." So he was asking me about that idea. He didn't have me in mind. He was really asking me about that idea. Did I think someone who had operational experience would be interested in such a position? So we talked about that. And it didn't really hit me until I went home that evening and was talking to my husband about my day. And I had said, "Oh, I had lunch with Joe Wagman." And I kind of stopped and I thought, I think I could do something like that. And I think it would be an interesting pivot in my career, because I'm always one about wanting to understand more, learn more, take on, new adventures. And so my husband's like, "Well, you should call him back and say if he's serious that, you would like to further that conversation." And that's exactly what I did. And it took some time, because I think we talked for about 9 to 10 months before Wagman was at a point that they wanted to move forward. And I was at a point where I was ready to really face this idea about changing career path. And that's how I got to Wagman. And it's been 10 years and it's been a wonderful experience. And although there are things that I miss about the operational side of senior living, I'm still very connected, obviously, to the network of individuals and my colleagues and friends that still work within the industry. So it's been a great transition.
No, that's a pretty interesting career move, and no, it makes sense the way that you're explaining it. And so we know that Wagman has been in the senior living market since the 80s,
Mhm.
mostly to meet the regional demand, but we know that market has evolved and like a lot of things have changed
Sure.
since that time. And so how has Wagman adapted, and specifically more, how did you help them also um, adapt to I would yeah, to be more relevant and also to win more business, because that's kind of the role that you
Sure.
have.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So, as I said, Joe was really instrumental in the work that Wagman started, and you're absolutely correct. In the early '80s, we're based in York, Pennsylvania. So, Pennsylvania being a obviously booming area for life plan communities, CCRCs. And I think, Joe had identified it being a strong market at that time, particularly in the Mid Atlantic area. There was a lot of kind of assisted living was coming to fruition. So there was a lot of new construction of assisted living, or in Pennsylvania, we refer to it as more as personal care. But um, those are the types of things that he identified. A lot of the work that they had done up until the point I joined was they had a strong footprint in doing renovation work, doing work in retirement communities of independent living. Um, uh, Renovations or turns. So independent living units that were being vacated and a new resident was moving in, helping communities through that process. I would say the thing that I've focused on is acquiring larger projects for us. So ground up new construction. Um,
And I've seen a couple and they look really nice. Like,
yeah.
I was
We have
pretty
some
impressed.
great clients that we've worked with through the years. And our primary footprint really is Pennsylvania, Maryland, Northern Virginia, Northern Delaware. That's generally where we work. If we have a core client that says for some reason, hey, can you work in Ohio, we're looking at a piece of property that we want to develop. If it's a core client that we've worked for, we're going to work with them to make that happen. But yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I would say my focus has really been on those larger projects, and also really educating our team and our workforce on what it means to be working in a retirement community and working around older adults. And I think that perspective, a lot of times when I'm meeting with prospective clients for the first time, when they see that I've been a nursing home administrator and have that operational experience, they kind of feel a kinship and a little bit of a comfort level. So, I would say that's an advantage that may be different than some of our competitors.
Yeah, because you can truly understand the prospect needs. And how do you, so did you have to do a lot of work, I would say, when you got to Wagman to kind of explain to the construction team and design team, like, yes, this is good, but in my experience of operation, it would be better if this and that, or kind of helping also relay the message a little stronger to the design team when a prospect say, hey, we need that, and design team say, I don't know if we can do that, but if it's important because operationally is important, do you also help bridge the gap, I would say, between the prospect or the clients and then the design team and construction team?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think we work with a lot of good architects and designers who have a lot of experience working in senior living. But I would say that when I'm involved when we have the opportunity to be at the table during the design of a project with the architects during pre-construction, and I'm able to be there advocating for the client, is something that I feel strong about. Just kind of putting again that operational hat on and trying to think from their perspective, and generally the clients there at the table as well. But just maybe being a little bit more of a stronger advocate at times, because having that operational experience and knowing how maybe a design change would impact the workflow for the staff, or how it may impact an accessibility issue for a resident. But yeah, I feel strongly when we have that opportunity to be involved in that pre-construction phase, it's always a better outcome.
So now I wanted to address the elephant in the room, which is, construction rate and demand rate. We all know that, it's on everybody's mind. So there are a lot of things I want to talk about construction, but how is Wagman, I would say, preparing for that kind of, or how is Wagman addressing that problem? Because at the end of the day, we need to build. It's like basically they said that for the next 10, 20 years, it's just going to be building and building and building to just meet demand, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. So how is Wagman getting ready for that and kind of like navigating that challenge?
Yeah. And you're absolutely correct. So I think they say, like, in the United States, 10,000 people are turning 65 every day between now and 2030. So we know that the demand is there. Like many industries, and the aging services field being one of them, we struggle from a labor perspective. We have, many individuals within the construction industry are reaching retirement age themselves and are leaving the industry. And it's been challenging and difficult getting new folks to enter the construction industry. From our perspective, we are very involved with a lot of trade organizations on the construction side that advocates and promotes apprenticeship programs and career training, and looking to bring individuals in, where we are always looking for interns from various college programs that work with us during the summer months, and then obviously they return back to school and hopefully are graduating soon and then are looking for employment. But it's always it's a balancing act, managing the current workload that you have, and also predicting your future workload and your hiring needs. But I think we do a good job with that. We have to be cognizant geographically where we're working and who we may need to be hiring from a geographic perspective, and then also those subcontractor relationships, and having strong subcontractor relationships in those geographic regions that we're working in. So it's always a balancing act. It's obviously challenging. As I said, we struggle with labor just like many industries, but I think
senior living.
We're managing that well, and we're ready for the growth that's on the horizon. We're busy.
Yeah. So basically, you're trying to really go as upstream as possible, and to try to show people, what can their career be working in construction, and really inspiring a new generation of young people to come and work in the industry at Wagman or any other construction company. But really, to say it's an industry that has a future and will always have, because it's just more and more people. So you have its up and down, but it's always going to go up at the end of the day, because we're just more and more people. So there is no turning back on that.
Yeah, I think it's a great career path for young individuals who don't necessarily want to pursue a degree in higher education. There's a lot of great trade schools and great opportunities that individuals can get involved in construction and have really healthy incomes.
Yep. Oh no, I know. The more and more financial journals are actually reporting on that, of saying there's so many people and young people saying like, why should I bother myself to go to an office when I can, do stuff that I enjoy and at the same time make a salary that it would take me, 5 to 10 years to attain in a regular office environment. So yeah,
Yep,
for sure,
absolutely.
it's a good path. And so you know. We are seeing it. Technology is also on everybody's mind. It's on everybody's mind. We know that unfortunately during the pandemic, that has been a little bit of a shock and an accelerator for a lot of industries. And so, how is Wagman approaching this? How are you approaching that, and how are you helping also operators or new construction make sure that we're future proofing the facilities as much as possible? Because every week I feel like there is a new thing popping up, a new business about a new type of technology, and we all
Mhm.
know that within 5 years technology will be ubiquitous in senior living, with sensors, cameras, AI monitoring system and all these things. And I'm sure that even in operations we're going to have that. And I'm not talking about like analytics, I'm just talking about like real operation of like
Mhm.
checking how people are doing work.
Yep.
So how are you guys keeping up, with all this technology, and how are you, helping clients to future-proof their buildings?
Sure, sure. Great question. Yeah, I think that's one of the trends we're seeing is the integration of technology, and from the perspective of helping our clients, just first of all understanding what their needs are, what their desires are to integrate technology into a new project. Most of our clients are looking at things like smart home features, particularly in independent living units, features that provide connectivity and engagement, some wellness platforms, safety, obviously. But I think access control systems
Yeah.
obviously is a big one. But just trying to understand what their goals are, particularly in a new project or in a renovation project, um, what their budget for those types of things are, because obviously everything comes at a cost. I mean, we can do anything. That's what we always tell our clients. We can do anything, but we have to understand what their budget is, how they're financing the project. But just and then again, working with our design team partners and our subcontractor partners to be able to provide them what they're looking for. We make connections at conferences and try to stay on top of and understand the latest technology. It's hard because you're right. It's like changing. You feel like it's changing every week. There's something new.
And as we were also saying before that we recorded the podcast, that it's not because it's new that it works.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so we have to be careful not to be, not to look at the shiny object and be
Yeah.
distracted when, go with the basics first, make sure that, the core, I would say, utilities are there, that everything works, but also make sure that we can assess, is that a good solution or
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. But I think for the most part, like I said, I think the smart home features, the connectivity options, and the access control things are the biggest things that we're seeing in the projects and with the clients that we're working with.
Yeah, because I feel once you have the good, I would say the good setup, and I'm talking about physical products like cables and access, after it's a lot of it is software and compatible between
Mhm.
same
Yeah.
same
Oh,
same type
One
of
of the biggest
hardware.
Yeah, and one of the biggest challenges we still see is, particularly, a lot of the communities we work in are older communities. They've been around for a long time. So a lot of that infrastructure needs updated. And obviously that comes at a cost. But, updating the infrastructure and the Wi Fi systems in order to give them the capabilities that they need to utilize the new
Yeah.
systems. So
Yeah, that's a big one for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that is that is really a big one. And so what are the key trends that you're seeing in the senior living construction? Because, we were talking about sustainability, flexible design, wellness spaces, pickleball, and all the
Yeah,
all
pickleball
those
is a big
things.
one.
No, exactly. So what are the things that, like, what are the trends that you're seeing in how senior living communities are being built today, and what's working and what people think is working and actually not really working?
Yeah, great. And like we've hit on some of it. Obviously, technology is one of the big trends. Um, Holistic wellness is, I think, something that we're really seeing. It would be one of the things that I list at the top. And when I say holistic wellness, it's just not the physical, but it's the social, emotional, and then the brain health fitness. We work with a client who has incorporated brain health programming into their campuses. And into their holistic wellness approach to help with all sorts, not only Alzheimer's and dementia, but Parkinson's and so many diseases that impact cognitive abilities
Yeah.
and brain
Brain is a
health.
muscle,
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So,
needs to be worked out.
it does. It does. More flexible and adaptable spaces. We're seeing that. I mean, obviously, through COVID and the need for different types of isolation, just designing and then building spaces that have more flexibility and adaptability. We're seeing that. Memory care obviously is a big piece, and people are taking different approaches to that, whether it's the programmatic piece of things or distinct memory care units or communities. We're seeing both. I feel like dining has always been a trend, but it continues. I mean, the continued improvements and the number of different and various dining opportunities, particularly in a life plan community, CCRC campus, giving people that flexibility and different options, communities that have now, bars and wine rooms and breweries and things like that is really exciting to see, because when I get to a retirement community, like that'll be something I'm looking for sure, as far as having those great dining and social options available. And then everybody's always looking at how to address that affordability piece, because we know that as more and more of the baby boomers and even as Gen X starts to age, there's a component that we need to address with serving the middle market, and how do we meet their needs and demands. And that's tough. What we're seeing there is maybe smaller units and just trying to be able to meet various socioeconomic needs of individuals across the continuum.
It's pretty interesting, and I like that those idea of community spaces like wine rooms, that's and bars. But I know that there is actually my neighbors, they moved to a CCRC, and I went to visit, and I was like, oh my God, it's so cool. I get it where you moved, because before they had their house, mowing the lawn and all this stuff, and now they are like at a resort. They have, as you say, like a tiki bar by the pool. I'm in Florida, so
Coffee
it's like
shops.
Yeah, there is a coffee shop, 2 restaurants, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so amazing, and brand new condo, and so it's really
and I think the what that leads into is also then, which is another trend, is the intergenerational piece of developing a community, and many communities by the way that they're set up or the way that their state provides their licensure or certification. They are, age inclusive, but how can we make our communities more intergenerational and bringing people in? And I know one community in Lancaster that has an amazing coffee shop that's located near a high school, and there are high school students that come into the community to come into the coffee shop, and then what that provides is intergenerational interactions. I think it also opens up these young students' eyes to what a life plan community offers from an employment perspective, because some of them have never been in a community. We've talked about the labor challenges. So I think there's some opportunities there when you can kind of create those opportunities to have intergenerational connections and bring people inside who may have never been with them. Yeah.
I really like that, and especially in the more urban, communities,
right?
They should totally have like a little storefront that is not really made to be a storefront, but that attracts people.
Absolutely.
And as I say, like allow people to kind of meet each other or see different aspects.
Yep.
All right, and so we've talked about Wagman, we've talked about your background. But being in business development, it's a lot of work. You've been doing that successfully because, looking at all the projects that have been done shows that you've been pretty successful. So, you fostered partnership over the years. And what are the best practices, or what are the advice you could give to other people in the senior living development to grow?
Wow. Well, I mean, from my perspective, I'm always about building relationships and connection. And I think when, no matter what industry you're working in, making good connections and having relationships with folks and building your web of people that you can lean on and get good advice from is always important. So if a community is looking to develop or grow, I think you need to have good partners and team members at the table. Understanding that the folks that you're working with have the knowledge and experience, because it's not a road that you want to travel down with inexperienced partners. I think that would be my advice, is building a strong team from that kind of pre-development perspective. How you're financing a project, who your design partners are from an engineering and architectural perspective, and then who are you working with from a construction management perspective that can help you through the pre-construction process, so all the way through up construction. You need a strong team. So having that network of folks and connecting with people who are knowledgeable is extremely important, because you're going to be working together for quite a long time if it's a larger project.
Yeah, can be a couple of years.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Can be several years. We're working with a client right now who, they've been doing some master planning for a number of years now. We got involved in early 2024 and have been able to be involved during the pre-construction process with the design team, and knowing that we should have some shovels in the ground next year, but essentially their project should take us all the way through 2030. So that's a long time. It's a long time to be working with people. So you need to like the people that you're working with.
That is indeed a long time. So since you're kind of spearheading what's happening at Wagman, what are the next 5 to 10 years are looking like for Wagman in the senior living space, and how will you help shape that vision?
Sure. Well, I obviously I'm very lucky that I can be part of our leadership team here and help our strategic planning and what that vision looks like. I mean, senior living is not the only market we work in, but it is our strongest market. It's probably anywhere from 60 to 75% of what we do from a revenue perspective in any given year. But we would like to see some growth geographically, and that's just identifying clients that we know have some opportunities, maybe beyond the areas that we have been currently working in, which again, primarily Pennsylvania and Maryland. So we're looking to grow geographically into Virginia, into Delaware, those areas. But for us, it's not all about it's not all about the revenue. We want to build good relationships, and we want to work with clients that value what we bring to the table, that they value our expertise, that they value that relationship. And then once they're done the project, when they want to do their next project, they want to work with Wagman again. I mean, that's our goal.
That's a good goal.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that after a couple of years, if they still, to be still liked.
Yes. Yeah, because it's not easy.
do it
I mean,
again.
having construction on you, especially, you're a greenfield project where there's ground up construction and nothing's there, that's easier than working in the middle of an active campus retirement community that has already 200, 300, 400 residents. That's a little bit more challenging, and that takes a little bit more forethought, and I think that's the experience that Wagman can bring to the table.
No, for sure. Well, Amy, it was a true pleasure having you. Really happy to see that at least in the Northeast, we have a company, that cares about their reputation and I would say like their legacy, because it's, as we said, it's been over 120 years that company was started. So it's truly remarkable, and they are super lucky to have you as their director of business development.
Well, thank you, Alex. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time today, and thank you very much.